And finally, the last exercise for this section. Here on Yelp.com, we have these price range buttons. So we've got inexpensive, moderate, pricey, and so on. If you want to implement this concept using objects, what properties do you think those objects should have? That's the focus of this exercise. So I want you to create an array of objects. Each object is what we call a price range object. It's one of these objects here. Now here we have 4 price range objects. In this exercise, you can create only 3 price range objects. Think about the properties that each object should have. So pause the video, spend a couple of minutes on this exercise, and when you're done, come back, see my solution. All right, I'm going to create an array called price ranges. In this array, we're going to have 3 objects. Each object should have 4 properties. One is the label that we display to the user, like a $sign. The second property is a tooltip. So here, when I hover my mouse over each button, you can see a tooltip. So for each price range object, we need this tooltip property. Let's call this inexpensive. Now we need 2 more properties, and with this we can determine the minimum and maximum price of a meal per person. We can call them min per person and max per person. So for this object, I'm assuming that the average price of a meal per person falls between $0 to $10. And this is important for filtering, because if you're building an application like Yelp, somewhere we need to store the list of restaurants. So we might have another array here, restaurants. In this array, we're going to have restaurant objects, and each restaurant object should have this property, average per person. Let's say the average per person is $5. Now, when it comes to filtering, let's imagine that the user only wants to see inexpensive restaurants. So this is the object that we're going to work with. And in this object, we can see the price per person is between $0 to $10. Now, we want to filter the list of restaurants and pull out those where their average price per person is between these values. So that's the whole point of having these 2 properties, okay? Now, similarly, we can create 2 more objects. We just need to change the value of these properties. So here we have the moderate price range. Let's say that's between $11 to $20. And finally, the last one is going to be expensive with price per person from $21 to, let's say, $50. So I hope you successfully completed this exercise. If not, don't worry. There are a million examples out there for you to practice. Whenever you're using an application, look at the features of that application, look at the concept, and imagine if you wanted to model one of those concepts using an object, what properties would you put in that object? The more you practice this, the easier it becomes. And that brings us to the end of this section. I hope you enjoyed this section, and thank you for watching.